let's say that we've invented time travel, right? I'm sure somebody has already. So let's just say we figured it out, and you were going to go back 4 years, into the past, and you have the ability to tell, you know, Linnea, who's just getting back into real estate, really just getting back, get going. What is the one thing, if you could kind of, distill everything down to that one place where, like, where would you want to start? And again, it's not okay, Linnea, you need to have this and this and this. No, no, no. What's the one thing you would do to tell yourself to start again?
We're live on Facebook. We're live everywhere that LabCoatAgents streams. What's up, world? All right. Good morning, everybody. If you want to say where you're from in the chat box, Jake will do his best to read them all out loud in slow motion. It'll be the most exciting. No, I'm kidding. But let us know where you're from. I'm joined here today with Marcus and Logan from StreetText. These are two of the nicest guys, but also two of the smartest people in this industry in terms of lead generation, lead follow-up. And we have a special guest, Lynea Carver, who is an amazing real estate agent and team leader out of the Pacific Northwest, the Seattle area. She has been pretty much just knocking it out of the park in terms of this online seller lead generation, but it's more than just generating leads. It's the follow-up that goes into them that we're going to dive into today. So Marcus, if you want to kind of tee up, you've collaborated with Linnea, you've watched her, you've helped her. It's gone both ways. What do you want to frame up this discussion in terms of what these leads are and why follow-up is so important?
Oh, wow. Well, Linnea is amazing. And let me just say, I got a chance to do a profile piece with her the other day and learn a little bit about her history and how she got into real estate. And, she can share some of that. But, her mindset is what makes her different than everybody else. That's number one. It's the mindset. She started in lending, right, Linnea?
Yep, back in 2006. Best time to be in lending.
Best time. And so she learned that side of the market. And then she got into real estate, but before she got to StreetText, she did some full-on incredible training and coaching with Krista Mayshore.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody knows Krista Mayshore, phenomenal. So she became a video influencer extraordinaire and learned all the ins and outs about marketing on the video side. And then she joined StreetText, and she takes that expertise, that experience, and offers it to all our community, and we're just blown away by her ability to create this authentic, genuine marketing funnel, I should say, that came out of it. Because what she knew from StreetText joining with us was lead generation was something that we're dialed in. We figured out we're a preferred marketing partner. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that anymore, right, Logan? With Facebook, but we've done hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of data points to figure out the algorithm, how to tap into seller leads. So Linnea came in, she's like, oh, seller leads, let me show you how to follow up with these leads. And that's where everybody struggles, is how do we create this follow-up mechanism with people that really on the surface appear to be just curious or want a home value? And so I got super excited because I think that's the missing link for everybody. It's it's one thing to get leads, especially of this case, and a lot of people on the surface will call these people tire kickers because they want leads that are ready to go today. Linnea just turned that upside down and created this incredible follow-up mechanism and created natural conversation starters, and then looked at the long-term strategy and started saying, okay, what are the integrations? What are the experience that I can offer to share and give value to these people? So naturally the conversations start coming up, and then I become, their preferred realtor. So I don't know. I kind of give.
You give it all away.
Yeah, you kind of give it away. But
her job here is done. Her job here is done.
Hi, everybody. Great.
I'll set you up. This is the perfect setup. But maybe you frame in where when you came in with what your background was and how you were able to look at StreetText. Because a lot of people, I think, they don't look at it from that picture. They start with oh, lead generation. Well, now what? And you looked at it as oh no, I've got everything that you got to do. Lead generation is just the missing element now.
Yeah, I think Okay, to back up a little bit, yes, I started out in the lending industry back in, I was in banking, my first job out of high school, but back in 2006 is when I was actually originating loans. I specialized in subprime loans. So, when the market crashed, there goes my business. And all of a sudden the world changed and I had to get a license to do mortgages. And I just didn't love mortgages that much. So I went into the retail space for about 12 years and took a hiatus from the industry altogether. Got my license back 4 years ago, and my business has just grown exponentially. I imagined my business would grow to the levels it's growing to, but just like last year, I closed just over 17 million as my second year really full time in the industry. And I quadrupled my income. So, I grew my team. So, there's just a lot that's been going on. So for me, the problem was not conversion. I had an awesome coach who helped me convert even better, but my problem was not conversion. My problem was building massive amounts of lead in the shortest amount of time. And that's where StreetText really came in for me, because I came on as a trial, a 7-day free trial. And in that 7 days, I got something like 100 leads in 7 days. I don't know. It was some crazy number like that. And
there's the plug for the trial right there. Anybody?
Yeah, there you go. Unintentional plug, but it's the truth.
Start a trial with StreetText now.
Start a trial now. You're getting 100 leads in 7 days. No, I don't guarantee that. I can't guarantee it.
Don't do that to Logan, please.
Logan's like,
he has to do that. He has to deal with that.
But I got like 100 leads almost in like 7 days. And the thing I liked was there was automated sequences already in place. And so I was like, how do I actually how do I actually make this work for me? I can definitely see the value, because I'm like, okay, there's my database. I have the conversion. My brain is always thinking long-term. I'm always thinking about today, but I'm always thinking about what's going to happen 3, 4, 5 years down the line. I'm trying to build a business. I'm not trying to build a transaction. I'm not trying to build a client today. I want relationships, and I want people who want to work with me and think about me over the next 2, 3, 4, forever, And I think that just comes from having a mom who's in the industry, and also having a dad who worked in a client-based business, and his whole business was based on clients and their children and their grandchildren coming back to him. So I kind of had that mentality coming into real estate. And I can just say, my biggest thing that I saw was obviously the quick building of the database. But when I took that platform that you guys had and I customized that to me and put my voice in it and my touch on it, that's when I saw the biggest difference in my business.
The one thing that I'd quickly ask you here, Lynea, is simply, if you could, let's say that we've invented time travel, right? I'm sure somebody has already. So let's just say we figured it out, and you were going to go back 4 years, into the past, and you have the ability to tell, Lynea, who's just getting back into real estate, really just getting back, get going. What is the one thing, if you could kind of, distill everything down to that one place where would you want to start? And again, it's not, okay, Lynea, you need to have this and this and this. No. What's the one thing you would do to tell yourself to start again? What's the one tool you would be lost without? And I'll give you a couple little tidbits that I think it should be. For me, for instance, video in your email. Without video in your email, my understanding is people don't really get a true sense of who you are and what you're doing. So for me, that's one of those things that if I could have gone back, earlier in my career and started doing video in my email, that's something that I would have gotten to where I am now much sooner. But yours might be different, of course. If there's any one tool you'd want to provide to yourself back then, should it exist, what would that be?
Mine is 100% more video, more often, in all places. I use video, like you said, Logan, I use video in my email follow-ups. I use video to communicate to my clients on a regular basis. I use video to tell a story. More video, more often. And I think part of that is because, my brain can go a million miles a minute. If you ever had a conversation with me, you know that that's possible. I can kind of forget what I'm saying. So when I have to write out something, it becomes this long, daunting process. Whereas if I can just turn on my camera and be and blah, 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 I can get my point across pretty quickly. So definitely more video, in more places in a faster amount of time.
And that's it for me is going through your funnel specifically and seeing the different styles of video content. I think that's important. But the way that I usually like to kind of address this is that everybody is always so tied to speed lead, and tied to I'll say it's an older sales mechanism that we've kind of all grown up with, where you have to pick up the phone, you have to do this, and this is the process. Well, that can work, sure, but everybody's got their own thing. For me, speed to lead is important, but I feel quality of content is more so important. Like if I get you something the second you click on my ad, but what I send you is lacking a personality and just kind of missing that oomph, well, we know it takes 8 to 12 touches to really get that conversation flowing. But if my first touch to you falls flat, what's the likelihood of you opening touch 2, or answering my calls or my texts that follow? Whereas I think if you lead with that proper video, now again, I can't say, hey, Lynea, hey, Marcus, hey, Jesse, hey, Jake, because every single one of you guys would go through the same funnel and get the exact same email sequence. So I can't introduce myself personally, but I can certainly, hey, this is Logan, this is me, this is who I am, here's what I'm going to do for you. In order for me to do this, you need to do this, so on and so forth, and just kind of step them along the way.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Lynea, can I point you in the direction I want you to unpack for a minute?
Yeah. Of course.
You just said it's no longer speed to lead. And Logan, I'm sure you know this term. I don't know where it came from, but speed to relationship. I believe that's the new metric that we're all tracking. And so Lynea, if you want to unpack in your actual follow-up mechanism, I don't know if you ever thought in those terms of speed, like how quickly can I create a relationship, but what steps are you going through to create that relationship as fast as possible?
Yeah, I actually do think speed to relationship, of course, because the very first thing is, I want to get to them. I want to get to them first. So we're on the topic of video. Okay. So the very first thing I do is I have a video that goes out, whether it be a buyer or seller follow-up, it doesn't matter. I have a video that goes out, and the first thing I'm doing on the video is going like this. If any of you use BombBomb, which I am a huge promoter of BombBomb. So BombBomb is the number one tool you should probably get if you don't have it. If any of you use BombBomb, you can record a video and it gives you a 3-second countdown, and you can sit there and be like, so literally my videos are like, hey, because that is like literally how I come on camera, like all the time. So, there's the first thing, it's speed to relationship. People are going to see right away who I am, my energy level, and they're going to like me or they're going to not like me. And if they don't like me, that's okay, because guess what? They're not my kind of people anyway. If they do like me, great, let's keep going, because the next video you're going to get from me is actually going to be more something educational. I'm going to educate you a little bit more on what's happening in the market, what sort of follow-up I gave you. If I'm talking StreetText specifically, or a seller follow-up specifically, they're getting the intro from me. And then the second thing they're getting from me is actually an introduction to Homebot. And so I have a video in Homebot that's like, hey, again. So I kind of look at it as like, if people aren't even watching the video, which they are, but if they're not, they can at least see who I am right away. So it kind of builds that relationship, which is another reason why I love video, because you don't even have to watch the video to get an idea of who the person is. So from there, then I'll go through and I want to kind of brand myself a little bit. I want to show them I'm active in my community. So I put out a community video. They're getting some other like personal stuff from me too. Like I send like a personal note and just say, hey, thanks for requesting your info. So I'm touching them in all places. So that's kind of like in a nutshell.
Yes. And I'm going to show people so they know what she's actually doing. This is the beginning. It's running an ad effectively that taps into the market. And that ad, once it gets going, there's amazing momentum. And here's a typical ad on the What's Your Home Really Worth? Enter your address, receive your home value. Brandon with Lynea. Brandon here. She's gone on and she's an expert too at ad creation, but that's a whole nother subject. We're talking about follow-up right now. If you want to learn about how to become an ad genius, just sign up for the trial and you'll figure it out. Logan will go through that with you. But now the cool thing is, look at all these comments, and she is amazing also at responding to these comments and having fun with these comments, because they're naturally going to be people that are negative Nellies and trolls and all that sense, and she just has fun and creates conversation. And you could always hide people, but she usually just has fun and kills them with kindness. And and all these likes and shares, that'll keep her ad performance rocking. And what I mean by that is, like, if you look at this ad that she's kept on, she's almost $500 in with the $13 a day budget, a dollar cost per click, something like $2 leads starting with an address, and a good portion of them are also giving full contact information. So going back to the ad level, okay, this is important to note. They click on this, and the very first thing they see on their phone is they click and provide an address. And so when that lead goes in there and says, I want to know what my true market value is, especially in a market like today, they know, everybody knows something crazy is happening in this market. They just want to figure out what it is. They'll click analyze my property. And then this is where everything kind of the rubber hits the road, because as soon as they click to give their email to that person, and this is done dynamically, this is not up front, this is where automatically Lynea comes in and introduces herself. And so she's doing her little, wave. And this is everything. Guys, this is your first impression. This is body language. She doesn't get the tonality yet until they click, but body language, first impressions, whether we know it or not, we're like a very judgmental society. We're going to make it immediate, like, is this a person I'd actually entertain or not? Right? In that moment, let alone I'm coming in probably with the idea that, no one as they scroll down this Facebook feed is thinking that they're going to have some person on the other side of it. They think that there's an automated home value. So you're really setting the tone here with your value, what makes you unique and different, and how you're going to present that information to them.
Well, and the other thing I do with those, like, someone likes my post or comments on it, I go in and I request them on Facebook, but then I take it one step further and I actually send them a video message, and I'll send it from my business page and I'll say, hey, thank you so much for liking my post or liking my ad, follow me, or let's be friends or something. So I'll actually send them a video message through Facebook Messenger, because you want to think about, all of the, like, the more interaction you have with someone on Facebook's platform, the more Facebook is going to show your content to them. So, it's like kind of continuing to build outside of that, like, paid ad, you're continuing to build that reach and that search. So that was kind of the one, like, epiphany that I had not too long ago. I'm like, why am I not doing that? And so now I do it. It makes a huge difference. I got, like, in the last week, I picked up like 50 new followers or something like that on my Facebook page.
It's huge. Yeah, I mean, and she was able to look at the sequence, because StreetText, for example, has this full 9-month-long drip email campaign built in. And so they're naturally going to get these amazing email content and automations, text messages included, right? Because if you go through this funnel, it doesn't stop at the email. They can provide more information, age, updates, renovations, sell date, and so forth. And so Lynea has talked about this. Like, once they put in their phone number, she's like 90% of those people that put in their phone number and all that information, I have a great conversation with. And you could talk about that shortly, Lynea. But that is where everything begins. And then naturally what she'll do is she'll go in there and say, okay, I know this is the first email they're going to get. Then naturally I have my own personal follow-up, and you can talk to that, Lynea, and how you decide who is going to get that personal touch. And then you talk about Homebot, and we can talk about that integration as well. But then you have this day 4, you went in there. No one did this until Lynea came on board. And then, you were like Jennifer Salter kind of did it a little bit, but then you went in there and kind of just taken it to the whole new level. You added this day 7 about the value community, and you're interviewing a coffee shop owner. And then you've got this day 11, and everything includes just a little personal touch. So no matter what, they're all getting to know you and how you serve the community, and how you're someone, unlike everybody else is just trying to solicit them and grab their business. You're becoming this amazing community influencer, and you're offering so much free value every step of the way. And so it's cool. I've seen along the way how you've gone in there and made it all your own. And then you have a whole nother element too, that naturally you add in this little button, these home value leads go into Homebot, and you can take it from here. You just have this entire solution that most people would never even think about, and now all of a sudden you're looking for the future, and you're seeing 30 touches later they're your client.
Yeah, so I integrate Homebot right away, because I feel like people are already going to go look on Zillow, they're going to look on Redfin, they're going to look anywhere else that's going to give them home value, right? So why are they not looking where I am? Because if I can give them tools, it's easy access, it's actually way more user friendly, in my opinion. Like they can tune their value on there, they can run scenarios for themselves, they can do pretty much anything that if they're going through their digest. And there's a video of me everywhere on Homebot. So I have videos incorporated in the beginning, like, you know, any page that they can click to on Homebot, there's a video of me doing a quick 30-second, let me tell you about what it means to be in a high demand market. I have scripts in there for if your market's cooling off, because some markets are cooling off or were cooling off. And so if Homebot determines them to be a cooling off market, they just automatically know what video to show people. So that's kind of the cool thing about it. And part of the other reason that I love Homebot is because it gives me another way to communicate with them or reason to call them. Because every week Homebot will send me my 76 or 87 most active leads in there. And I can go and then I have 60 or 80 calls that I need to make. And it's a real quick, hey, I noticed you were checking out your home value. What do you think of the tool? Anything I should know? And just try to start that conversation where it's just all about serve. And it's nothing about, you know, do you want to list your house? Do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell? It's a like, hey, how can I help you more? You have something you're looking for. How can I help you more? And so that's kind of like the big like focus and why I use Homebot. You know, I send it over. The cool thing about StreetText is that it integrates directly into Homebot. So it's like literally a click of a button and someone can go into Homebot and then I can kind of tune their value a little bit based on what I know about the market to get them somewhat on track, because even, you know, everyone has an idea in mind of what their house sells. And even though I tell them this is an estimate, I can't predict what your house is going to sell for unless I actually see your house. A lot of times people will just see a number and be like, oh, that's wrong, or whoa, that's really cool, it's really high, you know. So I kind of try to do my best to tune it a little bit, and then I let Homebot kind of take over from there. So now, like, they're getting a once a month digest from me on Homebot, and they're getting StreetText from me.
Logan, I know you want to add something real quick. I'm going to interrupt you just before you do.
Sorry.
Because I'll forget. I have a squirrel memory. So what I was going to ask is, like, most consumers today know there's something crazy going on in the market. And I got my property assessment in the mail the other day, and I don't know if that happens in the States, but it showed that my property value went up 76% from last year. And it says what it went up to. Now, I was curious. I'm like, well, if I got a full-on comparative market analysis right now, what would the house list for in this market? So I had a good friend of mine come to the house and, you know, take a very thorough market analysis and come back a few days later and present that information to me. $250,000 more than what that was assessed for, that she would list it for. So if I'm just an average consumer homeowner and have no idea, that I can only imagine what these people are thinking right now, right? With it, so this "what's your home really worth" idea is a phenomenal concept, because we're all trying to figure out what's happening right now. What do we do? If I do sell, where do I go? And so I was going to say, that's one thing you need to clear up, is like, you're a realtor out there listening to this. You know what's happening in the market. It's easy for you, but most consumers have no idea what that even means for them right now. And so you're helping them and serving them on that. Were you have something to say, Lynea? And then Logan,
I was gonna say something real quick to that point. You know, the one thing I want to do, and actually it's funny you showed those follow-ups, I'm actually redoing them. So you'll see them probably next week. But there's you know, in having conversations with people, you know, I like the conversations I have with people, I listen to what the problems are. I listen to what they're telling me. I listen to, you know, everyone has an opinion about where the world's moving and they all want to tell every single person about it. Anyone that's going to listen, they want to tell. So I listen to that and I use that and I say, okay, right now, 80% of the people I'm talking to, they want to move. They want to move out. They want out of state. They want to move somewhere to a, you know, more rural area. They want to move to where there's more land, whatever the reason is, they want to move. So, you know, I have to make sure those are actually included in those follow-up sequences, because the reality is that your home might be worth the home value, home worth are two totally different things, first of all. But the thing that I want people to know is, like, I listen. I know what's going on in the market, and I have connections for you. So.
Logan?
And the part I wanted to add was kind of in line with follow-up strategies using the tools that you currently employ. So Homebot, for instance, it gives you another reason to check in with somebody in, let's say, 3 months. So I come through your funnel. I'm not ready to talk to you. I'm 6 months away from selling my home. Right now, I start receiving the Homebot reports and everything like that. Now I know my home's worth $1.2 million, and Homebot's telling me my home's worth 975,000. So I'm not wanting to be undercut. I'm not ready to talk to you, right? But I think that constant communication of, look, I've been providing you this free service, but we've essentially fed it the wrong dog food up till now. Now what we want to do is come in and establish an appropriate baseline, because you've already shown that, again, without you having to blow up their phone on a daily basis and showing up at their door at 7 o'clock at night, doing all the things that, these terrible realtors are, we keep hearing about, right? You're not doing any of those things. You're simply, you've received their request. Now you've facilitated and you've given them some information. Now you've been giving them information for months without necessarily blowing them up. Of course, you probably texted them, you probably called them, you probably done a few things. That's not a problem. You want to be checking with these individuals, of course, but so long as your follow-up approach isn't too heavy-handed, then a few months goes by. It's a really great check-in. Hey, I wanted to make sure, or I wanted to check to see where you are in terms of knowing about your property. You did request a property valuation a few months ago. I've been providing this free report moving forward. However, it's not, we never kind of legitimized the baseline, and we're still operating off of the internet's best guess, something that I aim to fix. Why don't, are you free this Thursday around 4? I'd love to come do a quick peek around your property, give you some, highlights and lowlights of the property. But most importantly, we can take what I actually think your home's worth today, feed it into Homebot, and now the information it'll feed you moving forward will be considerably better. How do you feel about that? Something like that. Are you using any kind of strategies like that?
I am. Yeah. I use that. That's kind of how I utilize Homebot with my follow-up. Is I kind of look and see what Homebot's telling, who my most active people are. And then I go and kind of look and see what they're doing in there. And usually if people are viewing their digest, which is actually opening the email, going into it and clicking through, that means viewing digest. Those people are much more interested. So, I will call them. Sometimes I just send them a message straight through Homebot, which is another reason you need BombBomb, because you can integrate that with Homebot. And you can immediately send someone a message right through Homebot, and just, say, hey, how's it going? I noticed you've been checking it out, and I'll say, this is just an automated estimate. I can try to do my best. But the other day, someone actually called me back and she was like, yeah, I'm not at home, but you have my permission to go explore my property. And it was like this 3-acre property. She's like, just put on some boots and I'll tell people that you're there. And I went out to the house and there's a bunch of people there working on the house, but they were all like, hey, how's it going, Lynea? They knew I was coming. And I looked in the windows and kind of that was the best I could do to get her to let me come to her house. But it was kind of cool because she had seen me she'd seen me follow up with her consistently. And that was the reason I called her. It was like, hey, I noticed you've been checking this out. What are you doing here? So,
and immediately you knew, by the way, when you got to the property and people were waving at you like this, you're like, those are my people, right? You immediately knew that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My crowd.
It was easy.
So you just answered one of the questions, and Marcus and Logan, if you want to check the chat box, there's a lot of good questions scrolling through. You can see which ones seem most appropriate. We can get to a few of them. Kelly had asked earlier, how do you put video into Homebot? Is that how you're doing it? Is through BombBomb? Is that your integration?
Yeah, Homebot has a BombBomb integration. I believe in order for you to have the full capacity to Homebot, you have to have a lender sponsor you. And so that's how you do it. It's super, super, super easy. But if you don't have the video option, it's because you don't have that capacity because you're not sponsored by a lender. So.
Got it.
Someone just asked, Lynea, can I sign up for your drips? So let's really quickly highlight that, because we're in the works of creating a course specifically on your follow-up, aren't we?
Yeah, that's something we've been talking about for sure.
You're be on the waiting list for that. Okay, now what about
before you go on there, I just want to give you guys a shout out, because you're too humble to talk about yourself inside the StreetText community, right? Because it's I'm one of the LabCoatAgents moderators. I didn't introduce myself, but what I love about the LabCoatAgent community is the discussion, the collaboration. That's what I see inside StreetText, and that's how Lynea, how do you get her drips, James? If you're inside the StreetText community, you will see Lynea actively sharing and giving out most of that stuff, whatever she's doing. They're going to put it together in a course, but it's already there for free, just in the community. You guys are all nodding your head. You agree with that, guys?
I'll just quickly say, and forgive me for anybody who's heard me say this before. It's a little cheesy, but I love the analogy. I really look at our community like a garden, right? Is you come in, you kind of plant your own seeds. You walk away for a little bit, you come back and see what somebody else has done tending to those same seeds. And what I mean by that is people come in and bring their content and they say, for instance, here's a great follow-up idea I've got for, address only lead mailers or whatever it could be. Here's my video stuff I'm starting to do, and, give somebody else that same idea, and they kind of take it and run with it. Then they come back to the group and go, I took Linea's idea and look what I've done. And then Lynea looks at that and go, oh, that's so great. I can't believe I'm not doing that already. And then she's getting better with the original idea that she came and planted in the garden, so to speak. Right. So, and again, we always talk about the same thing. And Jesse, thanks for bringing it up. It's the collaboration between the two kinds of communities. That's what StreetText is all about. And that's why when we're looking for people to, quote unquote partner with, we don't just go and drop our stuff anywhere. Absolutely not. And I don't think that's what happens in LCA either. It's mindset and purposeful partnerships and relationships. And we really are. We're looking for people like Lynea who are willing to kind of go out on a limb and try something new and unique. But when it works, and it most certainly is, she's also willing to share that with the rest of the community and not hiding it, close to her chest. She's really able to show everybody else. And right now it's benefiting other people, which is great. And in time, again, it'll start to benefit her back as well, which is absolutely what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I'll second that. And I just dropped a link. Come and see how awesome the community is at the mastermind. That'll be the one meeting I think where you really get a good understanding and feel for it. It's like this, but, add in, 50 to 100 people. And we're all sharing and collaborating and giving away and like high-fiving and, and when someone's in need and they're like, oh, I'm just struggling, I can't get that person on the phone, or, my email, or, you name it. We're all just rallying and encouraging and sharing what we think that is the one thing that is a block for them. And we'll do role play and we'll do, everything under the sun and more. So I would say check that out. But Lynea, a couple of things. Someone asked, what's your cost per lead and what can I expect? What are the cost per leads that you're seeing in the Facebook market? And I think the key is, this is why you need to kind of go out there and split test and kind of share your experience, how you arrived to a low cost lead for yourself. And then the other question I had for you was, what about the follow-up, like the personal follow-up, not just the automations, the Homebot, the great drip that you've created in there. Where's the personal touch come in? And how do you decide which people deserve the personal touch or get the personal touch, and those who you let your systems kind of work their way in?
Okay, the first question was cost per lead and how do I decide? I test everything. Like, if you're ever go to the StreetText masterminds, Marcus will probably show you my ads that I don't know how many ads I've run through StreetText. I test everything. I test location, I test pin drops, I test photos, I test captions. I test everything and I go with what works for me. And that's kind of how I get to a low cost per lead. I think you saw a second ago, my seller cost right now is about $6 per full, like per email address, which includes name and address, name, address, and email address. But my cost for each address is only like $2 or maybe $1.80 or something like that. So, and I am not afraid of address only leads. I like them. Address only leads just give me another thing to find out. I am really good at social stalking, not gonna lie. So most people, especially because it is a Facebook ad, most people are on Facebook, and it's really easy to find out. You look up their address on tax records and you can find out their name. And a lot of times your title company will have a program where you can actually go and look up their phone numbers, or there's some free services out there where you can look up people's phone numbers called That's Them. That'sthem.com is my favorite one. There's other ways you can look up people's phone numbers and email addresses. Like if you have an ISA, they can probably skip trace them. There's millions and millions of ways you can, maybe not millions and millions, but tons and tons of ways that you could do it. but anyway, so if I get an address only lead, I will always look up their contact info, and then I'll call them. They have no idea they didn't give me their phone number. How many times a day do you input something on Facebook or anywhere and you stop before you give a phone number, right? But then you don't really remember if you gave a phone number or not because you might do it so many times. It happens all the time. And so I just call them. I'm like, hey, it's Lynea from eXp Realty. You just requested a home value from me. I have a couple questions for you. I want to do this, but I got to make sure all the information I see is right, because a lot of times tax records are wrong. It's a super easy conversation. And then they're like, oh yeah, I did. And la, 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 la. And that, I mean, it happens all the time. The other thing I do is they all get a personal note from me. So it's an automated thing. As soon as it comes in, my admin will go in and order through send out cards. We'll order just a personal in the handwritten font. And it just says, hey, you want your home value, you got to come over and you got to give me your contact info, because I can't get it to you unless I get your contact info. And then they go on an automated, a monthly mail campaign as well. So I recycle a lot of my direct mail content. I recycle that to the address only leads. And then, if I get someone and I have a really good conversation, I will try to actually do a CMA for them. I'll actually try to get as close as possible. I never, without actually seeing the house, I never give someone an actual value. I give a range, but I try to get the range as close as possible. And that's how I do it. I'll actually do a CMA, and then we'll mail it to them, email it to them, however, depending on their preferred form of communication.
Question. This was really cool that I thought, when I got my comparative market analysis back and it was discussed with me, she was showing me what my market value is today if I listed it as is. And she was sharing to me if I would make these little improvements along the way, and she actually gave me a detailed list of the improvements I could make, what I could list that home for as a potential, in its pure potential as well. Do you do that type of comparative market analysis as well?
I do. I use through KV Core, I use Core Present, which is an awesome tool. And I will go through and I'll tell people this is the range and this is why I'm getting this range for you. On the low end is here, on the high end is here. And usually I have this house has ABC features according to the photos, and I'll actually I'll record myself talking through them or talking them through the CMA, and tell them, the other thing you want to think about pricing, what your home is actually worth, is when are you going to put on the market? Because seasonality is a big deal, but also, what's it going to look like when you put it on the market? I will do that as well. So I'll actually record a video through BombBomb, of course, everything's through BombBomb. And then I'll send them the link to the video with the presentation in there.
That's huge. People forget that part of BombBomb is the screen recording. Because you can screen record in a couple tabs that you have open as you're presenting Homebot, as you're presenting. I like how people will go to the Google satellite and type in their address and then zoom into their home while they're talking about it.
Yep. That's always the start of my thing. So if you actually look at a video that I do for a CMA, I'll actually have the Google Earth thing going, and it's spinning in the background. And that right there will get me a lot of people calling me back and like, what was that cool thing you were using? Because they've never seen it before. And so that's the other thing I'll do. When I actually call a lead back to ask them about their house, I'll be like, hey, I'm looking at the view of your house right now, and I seen this green belt behind. It's is it a green belt? Is it a forest? Is it vacant land? What's going on behind your house? And I'll ask them to just give me. And as soon as I ask those questions, because they're not the regular questions. Is it 3 bedrooms, 2 baths? What upgrades do you have? It's tell me about what I'm seeing. And they tell me a story of their house. And that just really provokes that really good conversation. And that's when I know that lead is going to get, the full shebang follow-up, which is the full CMA. It's going to be just as much as I can possibly do to try to convert them.
And we're talking about lead follow-up and what's the best follow-up and everything like that. And the one thing I just want to quickly add as we're reaching the end here is, a simple verbiage change, a simple ideological change within your own head of, it's all about the hero's journey, right? And everybody who's read kind of those books and all that, we all know that we're the Sherpa, right? We're helping them up the mountain. We're the guide. We're helping them along. We're not the star of the show. And a simple adjustment in your verbiage from, hey, I need you to give me information so that I can do a better job with valuation. More for me, what I always like to go with is more in line with, I don't want to send you down the wrong path. I want to send you something here, but I want to make sure that the information I'm sending you is as accurate as possible for you. It's not, I don't want to waste my time on this, that, and the other thing. No. I just want to make sure that I'm sending you the right information. I don't want to send you down the wrong path. So if you can let me know this, that, and the other thing, then what I'm able to provide you is considerably more valuable. And then back to video CMAs, that was going to be something that I wanted to make sure that we did talk about here today. Is that's something that when I ever mention video CMAs, usually I get a blank stare, people kind of trying to figure out what exactly that could be. We won't have time on this one, of course, but we're definitely going to want people to see some of the examples of the video CMAs. You can see them in the StreetText Insider group, of course. But the main important thing for me, and Lynea, you might want to end on this if you like, of what to include in your video CMA, like what kind of points you want to make and make sure that people are getting when they see your video CMA.
The first thing I want to include is I just show them, I actually have tax records pulled up so I can actually show them what I'm seeing on tax records. So if I wasn't able to talk to them for whatever reason, they can see where my data is coming from. Then the other thing I do, like I mentioned to Marcus a minute ago, is I give them a range of what's actually like low end versus high end based on certain aspects of their home. And then I also always want to make sure that I bring up pricing strategy. There are 3 ways to price a home. 3 ways. And, really what's going to help you determine how much we sell your house for. And I always use how much we are going to do this for. And I always just basically assume that I'm going to be helping them. What is that? The assumptive close, I think is what they call that. But I always say, when I put your house on the market, we will have a conversation about what strategy we want to use to sell your house. Here are the 3 strategies. This is what the net result would be. And I show them kind of like based on today's market, this is what pricing at a little under market value would do, pricing it at market value. If you price it too high, and I kind of show them examples of all of those. So those are the things that I always include. And then I always tell them, if you do a couple other things to your house, like quartz countertops, you may be able to get blah, 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 blah. But, I kind of hold off on that really until I get to the house. So I don't want to give them too much of everything until I actually get there. Because the ultimate goal is to get to the house and see them in person.
Blown.
I was just going to say, we're running up towards the end of the webinar here. There's so many questions we didn't get to. And you just referenced, by the way, where do you find some of these examples of video CMAs inside the StreetText Insider group? Jake, I have it ready. I'll drop the link there. Like the way you get to that is that 7-day free trial, right? That's how you get into the StreetText Insider group, right? Seeing Marcus, Logan nodding their head. Lynea, any last bits before we wrap this up? Any other pieces for follow-up advice? StreetText or otherwise, just seller leads. Because Lynea and I were actually talking on another mastermind earlier today, and she kind of walked through her journey. It didn't start off kicking butt, like it built over time. What advice do you have for people who are piecing this thing together?
Keep going. Like literally the saying, the fortune is in the follow-up is there for a reason. I convert leads today that I've been nurturing that I got, some of them 2 years ago, but it's because like, I just don't give up. I just keep going. And, they start to fade, like the amount and the quantity starts to fade out, as time goes on, but it's still there and the quality is still there. So if you want to build a business, a long-term business, keep going. If you want to build today's transaction, just give up after the first phone call.
Well said. And Lynea, you are a rock star. I don't know if Logan, I almost called you Logus, Margan. I made you guys a celebrity couple. Marcus or Logan, do either of you have any final words you want to wrap this all together?
I'll let Marcus wrap it up, but the one thing I will say is when it comes to any lead, you can't just impose your own thoughts on them. Every single lead, whether you think that they're the same as the last person you just spoke to, they are not. Every single person has exactly what they need, and we need to take care of that individual. So I always look at every lead as a lead, not as a lead, but as a person first, right? And I recommend everybody diagnose the reason for the click, not just how am I going to get them this, that, and the other thing. Why did they click today, right? And then kind of go from there and work backwards. Marcus, wrap it all up, my man.
Awesome. I think StreetText is a come and see environment. It's like you gotta come and experience it. It's one thing to come and test out the trial. It's another thing to join the community and collaborate like we're doing here and see people just like Lynea. Because it's not just Lynea. Lynea is so successful because of her follow-up, but really it's her personality. It's that idea of serving, not selling. It's this idea of collaboration and contribution first. And I think you'll see that within the community of StreetText, just like we have it here in LabCoatAgents. When you come to a mastermind, you're really getting to, it's like pick your journey. That's right. You want a Lynea journey, like she'll show you so many examples. You want a Jennifer Salter journey, or, Janky Patel, which is a panelist here. She did 68 transactions with StreetText last year from her journey, from her follow-up, which is heavily based with ISAs and VAs and social media coordinators and all that stuff. So the sky's the limit, but you just want to begin with kind of reflecting on what that follow-up looks like and does it feel genuine? That's where it begins.
I love it. Guys, thank you for being here. We have a bunch of people in the chat saying they could listen for hours. I think we should all say goodbye the way Lynea says hello, right? Lynea, should we say goodbye? Everyone says Lynea says hello. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a great day. See you guys next time.